If you suddenly find yourself lost, you probably wouldn't think of relying on the United States military to help you find your way, but there's a military technology that allows you to pinpoint your position anywhere on the world, in principle to within 15 metres. It uses signals from orbiting satellites, and it's called the Global Positioning System, or GPS. It cost $20 billion to set up, and the US Congress would only fork out the money if the Department of Defense made the system accessible to civilians as well.
10, and liftoff.
Well, this they agreed to, and now 17 GPS satellites have been launched, with the next one due to go up next month. The satellites form a ring around the Earth, and receivers like this can track them down. The system works when at least 3 satellites are in view. The receiver picks up a signal from each of them and calculates its distance from them, and where the ranges intersect is the point where you're at. Well, we've already shown various uses of GPS on tomorrow's world, and each year the system is finding more and more widespread applications: ballooning, tracking lorries, surveying. And that's partly because the latest receivers have now got small enough to fit in the palm of your hand.
"20,000 kilometres up there, there are satellites telling me where I am down here. And if I enter in the coordinates of where I want to go, even though it's only a few kilometres away, it'll tell me which direction to walk and even when I'll get there. Pretty neat, but it isn't as accurate as it could be, not because of a design fault, but due to the agreement between the US Congress and Department of Defense. That agreement means that the US military can deliberately corrupt the data that's being sent to civilians. That's to make sure that enemies of the US don't receive accurate data. So only the US military can make full use of its true accuracy. Well, it's good enough to find something this obvious, but for some tasks it's essential that you get around the corrupting of the signal so that you can find your position more precisely. For that you need a fixed location, quite high up, and preferably near the coast. Then you can use a system called differential GPS. It works something like this. The lighthouse already knows exactly where it is. It picks up the position the satellites say it is and works out the difference. These are the errors at the moment from each of the satellites. That one's about 45 metres, and much of that error has been introduced deliberately. But the nice thing is that the lighthouse acts as a base station to transmit the constantly changing error figures to all other users, so they can correct their own GPS readings. Who would want to use it? Well, it's actually been tested in airliners to help them land, where accuracy is especially important. And it's going to play an increasingly important role out at sea. The ship Patricia is owned by Trinity House. They're responsible for all the lighthouses around the coast of England and Wales, and all the shipping buoys that mark deep water channels and wrecks. Now, it's obviously important that these buoys are accurately positioned, so it's the job of the Patricia to go around and check that they're in the right place, and if they're not, then to move them.
Mr. Loughran, we've had a report that the South Bordsey buoy has been hit by a fishing vessel and is off station. Could you put in the coordinates, please?
Roger.
Now, for the first time, the Patricia will be able to use the differential GPS signal from the lighthouse to make sure that the positioning is as precise as possible.
The ship is there with the buoy alongside, and it should be there.
The buoy is stowed aboard, ready to be taken to its assigned position.
On to starboard.
The increasing availability of differential GPS is shifting the balance between the military and civilian users. It means the US military are losing their exclusive access to accurate positioning. It's peacetime and the Patricia can use differential GPS with confidence. In times of war, however, the US military want to retain the right to jam the civilian signal completely. But as GPS becomes more and more crucial to civilian life, the US military may find they're not allowed to switch it off.